All right, welcome to Pollstar's Facebook Live. We are honored today to have the Renegade Upstart Agency TBA and their founders and a couple of their staffers and Pollstar cover subjects right here. There it is, Pollstar. There they are, live and in person and photographed. Welcome you all. I'm so glad you're here. So we have Marshall Betts, Amy Davidman, Devin Landau, Avery McTaggart, Katie Nowak, and Samantha Tacón. I may have butchered your names and I apologize. I'm just gonna go around the horn and let you all introduce yourselves in that order and just tell us a bit about yourselves, maybe where you are at the moment, both physically and just in terms of your business and what you're doing. We'll start with you, Marshall, and yeah, welcome everybody.
Hey, thanks Andy for the intro and for the cover story last week. Certainly everybody was ecstatic how it turned out. It looks great, as you can all see there. As Andy had said before, my name is Marshall Betts. I've been a booking agent for over a decade at several agencies. From smaller agencies where I started at Fada Booking in Philadelphia, all the way up and through systems like CAA and APA and Windish, and then eventually Paradigm, where now we are all very happily at TBA. I, along with everybody else that is here, is just super excited to be on this panel, answer some questions, and get started getting back to work with everyone. And also I'm in Brooklyn, both physically and I guess metaphorically.
That's a loaded place. That's a loaded place to be, Brooklyn. It means a lot of things.
And yeah, I'll let Amy talk a bit about herself now.
Welcome.
Hey there. Yeah, thanks for that cover looks awesome behind you. We should have all had that blown up behind us. I'm in the Bay Area and where I was born and raised, and it's very smoky and dark out. It's a little apocalyptic, but here I am, cheery as always. I started in the business over 20 years ago at the Bowery Ballroom and Mercury Lounge, and went through David Lefkowitz management, High Road Touring, the Windish agency, landed at Paradigm, and super excited about just where we all are right now. Even in the midst of all the uncertainty, it's been quite positive and exciting and optimistic past week for sure, but even past couple months. With this little dream team. So yeah, we're working, we're on the phone, we're talking to everybody, we're trying to figure out what opportunities are out there, and doing everything we can for our roster, our client teams, and also the promoters who we work with, to try to keep the industry alive and moving forward.
You know, one thing, Amy, I got to ask you, just because your career kind of knocked me out, that you were at the Bowery and the Mercury, and you were with Matt Hickey, and then you worked for Frank Riley, who in our industry is like a very interesting, well-known character and successful business person. What was it like working for him?
It was awesome. I learned a lot from Frank, and he really showed me how to kind of roll with things and be a little zen-like about the business, and I don't know, and how to run a business. I guess everybody felt very equal there, and I felt really supported and respected, and it was great. I don't know. I learned a lot from him. It was a really important time in my career, and I maybe didn't realize it as much in the moment, of course, but looking back on it, it was really a pivotal time, and I made sure to send Frank a little note on our launch day to let him know how grateful I was for that,
I mean,
for that learning experience.
he's the original OG of independence, right? Like he left Monterey because that wasn't indie enough. He started his own thing, and he's so strident about that, which I love. What was his reaction when you told him?
He's been very supportive. We all were on a call with him just recently just talking about Nito, and he's really into being independent. He's always been that way. And I think he's really excited for the future for us and for kind of the independent landscape, this feeling of being able to work together and not against each other. And so he seems really jazzed about the whole thing.
That's great. Cool. Welcome. Devin, I think, is next, right?
Hey all, I'm Devin Landau. I am at my home in Los Angeles. Feel like I've been here for months and months. Yep, yeah. Can't wait to get out. I similarly to Marshall have been in the business for over a decade. I started as a promoter in Chicago while getting a degree in archaeology, which was a strange pivot into music.
Hell of a pivot.
But yeah, you know, my passions have always kind of been rooted in cultures and preserving them, which I think I found, you know, a continuity with being an agent and you know, having a role in pushing people's art into the hands of others and you know, having everlasting kind of impact on culture. I work with a lot of artists that are of Spanish speaking artists and from Latin America, which is where I actually focused my studies in archaeology. And when I made the shift to becoming an agent, I worked at a boutique in San Francisco called the Surefire Agency, which was mainly, you know, kind of left of center electronic music and very focused kind of on the artsier underground side of things. And then I joined the Windish Agency in 2016, which lasted about 6 months before it became Paradigm. And I am thrilled now to have the opportunity to be with this great group of people who I respect and look up to and consider friends and allies, and just really excited to have some control back and looking forward to the future.
Rock and roll. All right. I think Avery, are you next on our list here? I forget the order.
Hi, I'm Avery McTaggart, and I actually started in this business in 2008 with our fifth partner who couldn't be here today, Ryan Craven, and I was his assistant at a company called the Cork Agency, which was up in Emeryville, California. From there, we wove our way through the agency group into the Windish Agency, and then most recently Paradigm before coming to TBA. And Ryan and I have been managed to be stuck with each other that whole time. So yeah, it's been quite an adventure, and much like my partners have said, we are just delighted to be working together with this group of people, and are, you know, just extremely optimistic for the future. And I feel just very, very fortunate and motivated to be doing what we're doing.
Awesome. Welcome. Katie.
Hi, I'm Katie. I am the head of marketing for TBA. I started at CAA in Nashville, and then moved over to Windish. Windish moved into Paradigm, where I know how I know all of these lovely humans. And then I took a break and actually moved to LA and worked for Saddle Creek Records for a very, very short period of time. And then most recently was at AEG Presents as a marketing director in the global touring division before I decided to join this beautiful team of people. I'm in New Jersey at my parents' house right now, getting ready to move back to New York. that I'm very excited about that. And I'm really just excited to like get to work with all these people and all my pals. It's been really awesome so far and can't wait to keep going.
Right. Did you feel the earthquake in New Jersey?
No, I
Really?
don't. I know it happened, but I didn't feel it. And honestly, I don't believe that it actually happened.
I guess that's what Jimmy Fallon's joke last night was there was track suits all over Jersey.
There's tracksuits all over Jersey without an earthquake. So yeah.
All right, Samantha, thanks for being so patient.
Oh my God. Well, first of all, can I just say big ups to New Jersey. We are like really out here this morning as a topic of conversation in this. And also my dad, Bruce Springsteen, announced an album today.
Wow.
I'm going to Jersey on Tuesday. So lots of that going around. Okay, so I'm Sam. I live in Los Angeles, and I got my start actually playing in bands in Asbury Park. My band ultimately signed to Paradigm, and we toured for a few years. And ultimately, you know, I left.
What was your band?
We were called River City Extension.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. And yeah, I ultimately got started at Paradigm because my band was repped there. So
who was your agent?
Andy, Andy Adelowitz was our publicist at that time. Paradigm offered publicity, and it was oh my God, I can't believe I'm forgetting his name. Andrew Ellis. So, and I think he's at APA now. But anyway, so yeah, I ultimately began at Paradigm, and my whole career was there, where I met all of these amazing people, and we made great relationships with each other over the course of 8 years. And I ended up being the senior marketing director of the West Coast for the agency. And then COVID hit, and we all got together and started something new. So my new role is head of artist creative strategy, where we work with artists and their teams to realize their goals in areas including touring, but also non-touring.
Yeah. All right, good. Welcome everybody. I got to mention to you real quick though that I think our next one that hasn't been announced, we're doing Little Steven Van Zandt. So tell your dad he's going to be on.
Definitely going to tell my dad.
With the great Ray Waddell, who's my boss and just one of the best journalist people out there. So that'll be awesome. Anyway, you guys, so thank you all for being here. Thank you for doing the cover and the interview and launching this. It's been one of the best stories of the year in my mind, to see the industry change and something new come up. What's been the reaction since you announced, and our cover especially, but no, the announcement kind of went out there? What are you hearing back, and what kind of feedback are you getting?
I think there's just been a ton of goodwill that's been pouring our way, and has honestly been clogging our inboxes. So it is, as I had said kind of earlier in our discussion, Andy, it's been the busiest I've been in months, certainly. And that's just catching up with good people that have, you know, a lot of interest in what we're doing and a lot of excitement. And, you know, it's not just people within our industry, but artists reaching out, and a lot of people kind of excited in the idea of something new and something positive, you know, in this time. And, you know, I don't think we have the luxury right now of having a lot of positive things come across our desk or our way. And we're super happy and honestly extremely thankful to be that kind of positive light right now. And that's been the kind of collective, not necessarily thing that everybody has said, but kind of a collective sigh. It just feels like everyone is kind of taking a step back, seen the announcement, reached out to us and just said, you know, we're just so happy that something good has kind of come out of this. And we really feel fortunate to be a little part of that story.
Are people giving resumes, or is it congratulations, or is it sign me up as a new client, or is it you know,
every side of the spectrum?
Oh, go ahead, Devin.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's congratulatory, it's resumes, it's, you know, managers who you know, are excited and want to hear more. And yeah, I mean, we did have this like feeling from the people who kind of knew what we were up to going into it, which was reassuring, but the response following the announce was just, you know, the seal of approval or confidence or whatever that we are just taking and running with. So
Yeah. Any other interesting reactions or people reaching out, or maybe unexpected sort of reactions?
Bucket hat requests.
Yeah, we didn't know the bucket hat photo was going in the Pollstar article, and now we have a lot of requests for TBA bucket hats, which we will be very happy to fulfill. There are some production and shipping delays happening, but you'll all get your bucket hats soon.
I need one of those with my tracksuit. Actually, would be great. Yeah, those were cool. I love that you merchandised before you actually even announced. Is what it looked like.
Yeah, that is what happened.
The logo is really cool. It's not on the cover, but it's that whoever designed that with it looks like sort of partridges marching across a screen or something. But you guys did a really good job just on the branding. And you know, the joke I love is like, so what are you guys really going to call it? Yeah. So when are you going to announce that? Like, do you get that a lot? I know Amy.
Yeah, people keep asking, like, so what is the name? And we're like, the name is
TBA.
TBA. That's it.
Yeah, I'm now getting in my emails when anybody now says something about something being TBA, they're now saying no pun intended next to it. It's just like, how long is that going to go?
We were on a call with a lot of promoters that were a part of NEVA, and one of the promoters suggested that TBA would stand for, when we're doing good deals with them, the best agency, and then when we're not doing deals with them, those bastard agents. So
there's fluidity there for sure.
I kind of like that.
You know, is it TBA agency, TBA music agency, or just TBA? We've had this actually in our copy editing discussions. Nobody really knows. Is there,
It's TBA agency, but we prefer now and over time to distill that down to TBA.
TBA, all right. Good. So what's interesting about your guys' careers is you've all come up through this consolidation period. So you've been on the rise up to the point where you got to maybe your most corporate place, and then it all kind of, as we've been saying, deconsolidated, which is a word I kind of made up, but it's kind of what's happening. And you know, now that you guys have kind of been through that process of being acquired or merging several times, each of you, right? Like, it's just part of what we all experience over the last 10, 20 years, you know, and we've called this period a golden age. And it looks like once we get past this whole thing, it's going to be a different age, right? I don't think it's going to be, you know, maybe as corporate as it was. We're not maybe going to have, you know, the budgets that we had before. It's going to be a very different thing. We know that, right? But what is, so it's a large macro question, but what do you guys see as, like, you know, in that kind of dialectic from corporate to independent, what do you guys see going forward, and how will this agency be a little different from what we've maybe seen when you guys were indie before the consolidations? Anybody for that $1 million question?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we, you know, that's a big, you know, a big push for starting this company wasn't just the you know, the layoffs or, you know, the kind of the events of the pandemic, but really it, you know, I look at it as, you know, it's the origin story starting before that, when I think that this group of people, you know, really recognized that there was a demand for something else, for a different way of working, for a different structure within the agency business. And I think that there were voices, you know, coming from the management, artist side, really all of our partners, lawyers, really everyone, you know, asking, like, is this, you know, is consolidation, is this it? Is this just the way it is forever? Or is, you know, is change going to come at some point? And I don't think that any of us could have foresaw the wrecking ball of the pandemic being the catalyst for that change coming, but it is part of what enabled us to act quite quickly in forming this company with a very specific mission and a very specific structure. Is that, frankly, it's something we had been ideas we had been thinking about and rolling over in our minds for some time about, how are things going to shift in the future? What could this look like, and how could it be different? And I think that, with all of the negativity that the pandemic has brought, it also has really enabled us to focus on what those goals are for us in the future, and what agents can be doing that, and what agencies can be doing differently. And I think that probably the biggest thing is really being flexible at the moment, because I think that what the landscape is going to look like across the business, but specifically in the live space, is obviously going to be shifting, just from the people involved, the venues, the deals, that is going to be shifting. And then I think just the basic kind of building blocks of the artist, manager, label, agent kind of relationship, I think what artists need from those different blocks and how they fit together, the best thing that we can do right now is be informed, be in a position where we are able to deliver the quality of work that we always have, but be able to act very quickly, to be able to shift within each team and within each situation, to really, utilizing obviously our strength in touring, but then, with what Samantha and Katie do with us as well, to really, instead of treating, the idea of agency service as these, kind of different siloed services, really be able to work within a smaller group of people and across a smaller roster to form around our artists and support them in a strong but very nimble way. And I think that's really, I don't think anyone, as you said, it's going to be different, and we can sit here and I'm sure everyone would have a slightly different idea of exactly what that different landscape look like, and I don't think any of them would be 100% correct. So I feel for us it's about really identifying what we can do, what we are good at, and then super serving our artists in those areas, and within a format that allows us to to be very focused on them and be very supportive of them, even if for the next year that is primarily in ways that we haven't been before. Namely, we're the touring we're talking about is all more or less starting a year from now. So what else can we be doing? And I think that's been really exciting for us and feels better already. Certainly, not generating a pile of money at the moment, but we'll we'll get there.
Yeah, Samantha, I saw you clapping your hands, which that's a good sign of clapping about the future.
She likes to do that.
I'm a very active listener, and also very New Jersey with the hands.
What was that clapping towards the future?
Well, I guess I really do try to approach everything from an artist perspective, because when I was an artist, I didn't understand the industry at all. I didn't understand the way agencies worked at all, or labels really. But from being on the inside for a while, it's not a matter of like, should they? Agencies need to evolve the way they do business, because yes, silos exist between the label and the agency and the publicist, and like, it's kind of like an eat what you kill mentality, and nobody's really communicating. And that's because that works for the industry, not for the artist. It's like people working, for themselves, not for the benefit of the artist and their larger plan. So like, that's what we really aim to bring, is like not just coming in for like one-offs or like, yeah, I want more brand deals, let's get more brand deals. It's more about like, what are your goals? Like, and not just in music, but like, do you have aspirations to do an original score for a film? Do you have a digital event concept that you want to bring to life? We really try to find those seeds of ideas that resonate with the artist that we can like bring to life with partners where we have relationships. So it really is like a 360 look. It really is an artist first, artist owned look. And we really just are looking to, especially now, interact directly with artists' fan bases so that they can maximize their revenue potential and their fan base. So it's a challenging time, but I always think that that's when kind of magic happens. And again, I think that's why this agency has resonated so much, because like it's negative about everything, not just the industry, but like the world. And so like this concept of like progress and working together with people instead of working for ourselves, I think just is resonates in a way, definitely for me anyway.
And just to put a pin on that, like I think it's so much of it is about how the agency structure needs to change, and how we're trying to be pioneers of building out a new way to work for our artists and get them opportunities. But I also think it's important to note too that like this is also about changing the culture of the industry in general, because I think we can all agree that there are things about it that are not okay necessarily. We want to, create a space where people feel like they have a voice and that they can be heard, and that everyone is equitable and has opportunity to grow and be who they want to be, and rise to the occasion, because so many times I think a lot of people go through the industry feeling like they're getting pushed down, or like they're not being heard or valued. And I do believe that this is a group of people, and that this is a company that will help people flourish thoroughly, and make everybody feel like they have a voice. And so that's just as important. That part of it is just as important as what we're doing for our artists as well.
So, the rub for a long time has been, and especially during consolidation, is that a big agency can get you that starring role on a Netflix show, or can, get you that brand deal, or can really, it's a full service agency, and we can get you the ancillary revenues. We can, we can use our data that we have to really route you through here and here. And we have international reaches that we could go here and here. How would you answer those questions for your clients when they come to you and say, but you don't have this, that, how is that going to change? And how do you think the industry will respond to that now that we're seeing this deconsolidation?
I would love to actually jump in on this because I feel very passionately about it. I do not believe that there is a one size fits all approach to everything an artist wants to do. Like, there's certainly capabilities that I cannot offer artists, but I can partner them with smart people. And so I think the promise of like, oh, well, we have X Oscar winner and X Grammy winner, and like, you're next. A lot of the times that can be beneficial, there's no way about it. But again, this concept of teamwork and equity comes in, because what those companies do, they want to package things. So they might not consider the best partner for the project, because they'd rather push a client that they represent to help make it happen. And it might not be the best artistic fit, but the agency has incentive to make that happen because they profit more off of it. And that's what the WGA thing is all about, is because agencies, they're trying to cut agencies out because it's not working on behalf of the writers. And it's similar for these other areas. So our whole STE is to get people with smart partners, again, where we can all work together and off the same blueprint, because there's more than enough to go around. This is a very big industry and business, and barriers that we thought existed are suddenly melting. So we all need to hold hands and navigate again on behalf of the artist first. So that's how I feel about that.
Yeah, and I think to answer some of the, in terms of, I think, Samantha did a good job of especially as it relates to, some of the, specific, we're going to get you on this TV show kind of stuff. I just don't, I think that style of pitching artists, if it wasn't already very outdated, I really think that coming out of this moment, I just don't know that the boardroom and slideshow and the Oscar winners is necessarily gonna really work for everyone. I think that teams, artists are very informed. When I started doing this 12 years ago, I would contact artists or even managers who, booking agency, the whole framework, they didn't really know. artists now, like the artists themselves, not even their managers, but the artists know things. They know more. There's a lot more information out there. And I think that the bullshit detector on new and young artists is a lot more sensitive than it was before. And I think that's a good thing. I think that is going to force us to work in a better way. But I also think it's part of what creates an opportunity for, you know, for us to be very straightforward with, you know, our approach, who we have working with us, what our experience is, what our areas of expertise are, and really, you know, just like the concept of, you know, international representation, like you mentioned. I don't, you know, my relationship with agents in Europe has not in any way changed or diminished given this change. And I think that, you know, we've all done this. We've all worked in this business for, you know, for at least a decade. We all are part of this group because we, you know, have a shared sensibility about how we work, how we maintain relationships with people. And that's part of what we bring to, you know, to this company is, and what we offer our clients. And I think that there's a huge opportunity there to, you know, we don't need to open an office in London for us to help facilitate a global touring plan for you. It's just not, you know, if someone doesn't believe that, I'm like, okay. But I think that, you know, it hasn't even, you know, it hasn't come up once, to give you some context. You know, everyone's like, oh yeah, of course. Everyone likes working with Avery. Good, let's get on with it. And I think that is, you know, obviously it would have been a much tougher sell if I was in my second year of agenting. But again, you know, we're leaning a lot on our personal relationships and leveraging those to work with a smaller roster that we can really focus on. And I think that is a huge strength and a huge advantage we have, is this group of 11 very talented, well-connected, you know, passionate people working across a much smaller roster. And I think that equation, even as we scale and grow, if we can keep that general equation in place, the results are just always going to be better. And we all feel very much that is the case.
Yeah. All right, good. You know, one thing we haven't really just said specifically, your roster is ridiculous. I mean, that may have been, I mean, you guys are great and all, don't get me wrong, but the artists you have are ridiculous. I mean, they're really, like, in terms of just like critical and commercial acclaim, they're at a really interesting level. And I know you have a variety of artists there, and the breadth is actually really impressive as well. But you know, some of the top line ones, the War on Drugs and Courtney Barnett and Chvrches and Jungle, and, you know, and it goes on, like Guided by Voices has been, you know, it's another level of artists, I think, even though they're not playing arenas, they're just so important. And, you know, and Tune Yards and Caribou, and I mean, it keeps going. Tycho, how are you able to keep those artists, and how would anyone ever let agents go away with that caliber of artist? It's really, I think this is what, you know, this story, we put this story out. Thank you for letting us break it. And then it went like wildfire with a lot of those artist names in the headlines, just everywhere. And, you know, it's why do you think you were able to keep those artists after you were let go at your former employer?
I think a lot of it mostly stems from, you know, relationships and what we have been aiming to do with this company, which is, you know, being involved with teams from a very early level. And that's something that I think we all take pride in and have taken pride in. And, you know, growing with those artists and making sure that we're able to take a holistic approach to everybody and do that has assured them that when we are taking our next step, that we are the right person for them to go with, you know, and that goes just beyond the individual, but also when we say we put together a great group of people that we all really trust in, that means our artists and our managers also take trust in that. And, you know, and that comes from years and years of being with people and being a good person and trying to do the right thing for your artists, while also, you know, helping use your leverage to make them more successful at whatever it is they want to do. Some artists don't want to be in arenas, you know, some artists want to do some really creative things, tour occasionally, and then they might not want to make that sole money. But if they're making great art and they're pushing the boundary of what we view as something great forward, those are the people we want to be in business with. You know, a lot of times when you're at a much larger company, you get bogged down with numbers and things like that. And it starts to come into focus where people expect you to do a certain thing. And maybe you are starting to work with artists that you might not respect or believe in or be, you know, or be fully behind. And it's not to say that we don't want to make our artists money or not do that, but we also wholeheartedly want to believe in their art and believe in those people. And that's why we're passionate about what we do. You know, it's why we've been able to keep something like 90% of the roster, 95% of the rosters that we had. And on top of that, we also are aligning ourselves with 11 people who happen to also have the exact same ideals as everyone. You know, we're all in this kind of collective boat together, and we all have fostered and taken care of a bunch of people that have been making great music and great art for a long time.
So we have a question that was actually my next question. So now I'll read that one. It wasn't my question. I wouldn't have read it. It's basically, can anyone walk through the process of talking to your artists, which I also assume means their managers, and convincing them or not to leave with you for TBA? Boom.
I don't know if they're, at least from my perspective, you know, I have really great communication with everybody I work with. So there's no like dancing around what's going on or what I'm doing or how it's going. It's just, it was pretty simple. I mean, I wanted to make sure that I reached out to everybody actually, you know, literally on day one to make sure that everybody, you know, was in touch with me and knew that I was still here as a person who was on their team and here to help and do anything I could, no matter where I was or, you know, if I had a job or if I didn't have a job, I still felt as if I represented that client and wanted to do anything and everything that I could in any sort of interim period to make sure that that communication line was open and that they knew that I was still there for them. I think that's just like a really honest approach to it. So then, you know, shifting that conversation into, well, you know, this is what I'm going to do next. And you want to come along? Like, I think that was really natural. None of us dropped the ball in terms of making sure that folks just.
But was it like oh shit, now I have to make this call? Like, oh great. Like, was it just this feeling of like, it sounds like it would be a really hard call to have to make, to say, we just got temporarily laid off. And
yeah, but at the same time, it wasn't just the five of us, you know, that were experiencing that. You know, it happened to a lot of people. And, you know, like what Amy was saying, you know, you have the initial call and it's, you know, you're reassuring your teams that you're going to be there to carry it through. And it's not like any of us didn't have, you know, likely our biggest year of touring that we would have had compared to previous years. I mean, that meant that every single show that was booked or every tour that was booked in 2020 had to get moved to a later period. And at the same time, having conversations with virtual performance platforms and navigating like the myriad of opportunities that are popping up in the meantime, and really creating this like sense of awareness and being confident about knowing what the opportunities are out there to show the teams that you're still like as integral of a part of the team as you were before. You know, it's who's going to reroute a tour from 2020 to 2021 if it's not the agent who was doing it before, right? So
and the reactions were just, I'm with you. Let's do this.
Totally. Yeah.
And even before you started TBA, it was like that, right? It wasn't your clients. TBA hadn't even been founded. This happened in March, I think.
Right.
And it wasn't like, we're starting a new firm, we need you guys. It was like, I'm not working at Paradigm anymore. I'll keep working for you guys. We've been working for many years together. There was no,
Yeah.
it wasn't a
Keep
choice.
me posted on what's
it's-
next.
It's called
Yeah.
the Gmail agency.
Yeah.
Email agency. That
We,
was your
we all
choice.
worked there for a few months.
Didn't you say something you wanted to make it like the last agency? You wouldn't have to change it.
I really tried to sell everyone on calling it the final agency, because this is the last company I'm working at. We're not selling it to someone else. We're not consolidating. Like, this is where we work. That's it. But people thought that the final agency didn't really have a good ring to it. So we moved on.
Yeah, it has a little.
It kind of has a net. Yeah, it kind of sounds like the end of the road or something.
So I was really fascinated by some of the things you guys have been doing. I think Avery, you had mentioned was it Tori Moi doing the like a anchor steam thing? Did I make that up?
Yeah, he did something for
a drive-in show or something.
Yeah, across the roster, we've been working on. We have actually a tab that is called NonShows, where we record all of these kind of grab bag of things we've been working on for our clients, and it really ranges from drive-ins to there's colleges are using their budget that they would have used for concerts, for online concerts. I had an artist do a DJ set for the interns at Google, and I think that there's, and also for we've also found that a lot of for a lot of like premiere events where otherwise an HBO or something would have had like a party, and they can't really do that anymore, so they have an online event, but they still want to have entertainment for it. And I think we've been seeking out those type of opportunities, and then obviously a lot of promoters and festivals are having series of digital events as well. So there's really no shortage of opportunities in that space. I think it's getting to the and it's interesting because this is not like some sort of firmly established business, at least in the context of a pandemic. So it's we've really had about 6 months of this now, and I think we're going to have about another year of really this being kind of for the more or less the only type of options. And it'll be interesting really to see how those opportunities evolve. And we want to we're very, very active now in really being able to help artists navigate the multitude of live streaming opportunities, platform, there are a seemingly infinite number of options at the moment. And I think a lot of artists are either just kind of grabbing one that comes their way, or don't necessarily have the full scope of information about what the opportunities are. And that's historically, if you take LA for example, if we're booking a show here, I can tell you the granular difference between the Fonda, the Regent, and the El Rey, but we want to work towards being able to provide that information about the range of streaming opportunities, because right now it's a lot of like, wow, there's so much, I don't know where to begin. And so that's a big task for us moving into the rest of this year and next year, is really being able to to provide the same level of information we would for touring for this space that we are in. And I think the last thing I'll mention on that front is that I don't think that touring is going to start again, and these type of opportunities are just going to go away. Obviously, there will be, a lot more conventional touring activity at some point in the hopefully not too distant future. But I think some of what we establish and work on now, and some of the opportunities for artists to connect with their fans are going to remain. So it makes absolute sense that an agency should be focusing on that, and should be focusing on how we can help guide our artists through those opportunities in conjunction with the rest of their teams.
Yeah,
I would just to echo that, like, I think this like collective pause has also been really helpful in like getting to another like core thing that we want to do at TBA, which is to like really provide 360 strategies for artists' goals. So we've been working with a lot of our artists on their album releases and how we can get, interested in like, where we can get brand dollars to help support like digital events, or where we can kind of like borrow from the marketing budget from the label to like do really cool things. So we're really trying to be flexible and provide like pretty surgical strategies that like weave into each other so that the artists can really capitalize on their platform, and like Avery said, really connect directly with their fan bases and only continue to grow that. And I'd be remiss to say we have an artist who's doing a big album release event on Saturday, so everybody check it out. AG Cook, Appleville.
Who is it? It's Appleville.
AG Cook, Appleville. He'll be performing it's a debut album release. Caroline Polachek, Charlie XCX, Claro. It's going to be a 10-hour event. It's going to be awesome. Check it out.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's 4 billion live stream companies that have popped up in the last 6 months.
They've all been on our cover.
And we've been getting on the phone with every single one of them. I actually have 3 calls with them after we get off of this call. You know, there's two lanes. There's like plug and play of like, we want to do a live stream and okay, cool. Here's all the options and let's find out which one's best for you. And then there's this other side, which is what Sam's talking about, where we're some artists are willing to take more time and dedicate more, you know, like put a little bit more thought and emphasis into like what they can build and how they can use the live stream function to reach a bigger goal. And so that's like the exciting part is being able to like weave back and forth into these 2 little lanes and see what we can just create out of nothing.
Yeah. You know, I had the pleasure for the first time of going to a drive-in show last weekend at the Anaheim National, or what's it called? City National Grove in Anaheim with Fits and the Tantrums. And it was actually, I got over emotional. I couldn't believe how great it was to see live music. To me, it was like seeing, you know, Radiohead at the Niagara Falls or something. It was so special. I couldn't believe how great it felt to actually be there. And it felt safe and it sounded great. You could sit outside of your car and it was just, and I brought the kids and stuff, so it wasn't rock and roll, but it was still very rock and roll. And it was really healthy. And they also do a stream off that, I was told. It's Nederlander, and they stream off those shows and they keep, people pay post facto for some of the streams. And it seems like, you know, there's these little creases of light are coming through where artists can actually perform and people can enjoy it even live sometimes. Are you guys seeing any cracks in that and more light coming through for options for your artists to perform?
Yeah, I think, you know, I do, as I said, you know, this time that we are in, that if we want to call it, you know, this year and well into next year, you know, I think that we're starting to see opportunities for, you know, for kind of small gatherings, and people are experimenting with, you know, kind of multi-layer COVID testing ahead of, you know, attendance. And I think that we will just continue to see an evolution of, you know, of opportunities that stretch somewhere between a drive-in and an intimate gathering. And I think that that will continue to evolve, and there are a lot more discussions happening. There are a lot of, you know, the other thing to keep in mind is there are other implications involved with that as well, you know, including, you know, the artist's appetite for travel during this time, you know, and their, you know, interest in it. It's not that even if an artist has a lot of interest in performing, there are a lot of people in general who don't want to get on a plane right now and don't, you know, and so I think that, you know, it's just really a, you know, unlike a conventional booking where it's like, okay, here we have this opportunity in Denver, do you want to do it or not? It's, you know, there are now just so many more layers of things to be figured out. But I do think we're going to see a lot more opportunities open up, especially into, you know, the spring of next year, when I think there will be perhaps a bit more flexibility in certain areas regionally in terms of what is kind of possible, and then also just the general evolution of kind of best practices that allow you know, these live and in-person kind of performances to take place. But it's still, yeah, it's still pretty early, but I do, look, there are a lot of drive-in opportunities, certainly, and the couple that I've been to equally, I was sort of suspicious going into them, but had a great time, and really enjoyed it. So
Yeah.
I think, we'll be seeing more of those, especially in California, over the next few months.
Yeah. Amy, didn't you have an artist going to Pink Martini, going to Escondido or something, right? Did I make that up?
Yeah, they'll be, it's not announced yet. It'll be announced
You heard it here first.
shortly. Yes, they're confirmed to do drive-in in Escondido, and the second weekend in November, and we're talking to an outdoor option at a golf course in Bend, Oregon for the first weekend of October.
Nice.
We're talking to Reno. Their longtime promoter in Reno is working on building something out just for them, and a promoter in Eugene, Oregon. So yeah, they're based in Portland, Oregon. They're open to ideas that are regional, that are driving distance. So we're looking into all of those. Obviously, we're going to all have to deal with the weather outside of Southern California, so there aren't going to be a ton of those for the rest of the year. I think that's pretty focused. Obviously, I had conversations with Nederlander, have an offer for Anaheim, and there's the drive-in in Ventura. So there are a lot of these that are popping up, and you just, that's so much of what we're doing right now in our work is just staying in touch with people, because there are so many different regulations county by county, and different promoters doing it in different ways. Sometimes you're in the car, sometimes you're out of the car. The expenses are different. Are you paying per car, per person? There's so many different ways to build these out. And right now we're just doing our best to understand and learn every different concept that's out there. And then, we have to figure out which artists are actually open and interested. Like Avery was saying, not everyone is open to that. And then you're really talking about regional opportunities that are, somewhere based, around where the artist is. So it just depends on, what their appetite is for that right now.
Marshall, you have Courtney Barnett, right?
Yes.
And do you know, is there any more glimmers of light in Australia or New Zealand?
I believe that certain state, well, it depends on the state in Australia. On the western side, I believe that state is pretty much like fully open. They're having shows. People are able to go to bars, nightclubs, things of that nature. And then there are other states, like not that Melbourne is a state, but the state that Melbourne is in, and Victoria and others, where they're actually now on lockdown. So kind of how the US was at the beginning of COVID, where they had originally been doing very well and then had a recent spike and are now, completely locked down. I think, at least in terms of Australia, that's how it is. In New Zealand, they went through a fairly similar type of thing, where they had opened up, had a spike, and I'm not sure if they're still currently on lockdown, but had basically clamped back down afterwards, which is fairly similar to what we're seeing here in the States. Well, not completely, but certain states swinging up and certain restrictions being reenacted, and things of that nature.
Yeah. I mean, there's these. It feels like we're kind of 2 steps forward, 1 step back is kind of how it's gone. And I thought the drive-in was a great example of what can work. They've done 6 or 7. I'm told it's been 100% safe. Everybody's fine. Like, that is a great model, and hopefully we'll see more of those. And internationally, I hope we start seeing little bits and cracks in the COVID armor as we go forward. So we just have a few more minutes. I'd love to go around the horn again and just talk about what you see for the future with the agency and how it will grow organically, or how you want it to grow even. It's such an interesting time. And by the way, quickly, how many artists do you have total? Does anybody know the answer on that one?
150.
Wow, that's not too tiny, but I guess it's 6 agents. Oh, but who are we missing? We didn't get everybody on the team named here, right?
So we're missing Ryan Craven, who is the
Right.
5th partner in the business, and then Josh Mulder is the additional agent as well, who is not on the call today.
Right, and then who else? There's a couple others probably nice to mention.
And then Lauren McCauley is our head of operations. Chris Danis, who has worked with me for a long time across the Windish agency and Paradigm, and then Lindsay Schiffman as well, who joins us from Windish and Paradigm, who works with Ryan and Amy.
Yeah, all right, good.
That's the crew.
So yeah, what do you guys see in the future, just going forward as we muddle our way through here? Start with you, Marshall.
Sorry, just going off me. Well, look, I mean, I in terms of the future, I think we're all just hopeful that, that things, progress sooner than later. But the reality is that, and I think hopefully it's been clear from this discussion over the past hour, we just want to be there for the artists and the people that we work for. And we definitely want to keep striving to do what we've done, but also excel beyond that. We want to help serve our artists get to another place. We want to be at the forefront of new and exciting music. And we fully believe that we can do whatever it is an artist sets their minds out to do, and what they believe in themselves in. And, I think as long as we're all here and we're all doing what we're doing, then that is very achievable, pandemic or not. And we're just so fortunate and excited to be here and to have something new and to all be together.
If I'm an artist, where do I want to send my tape to?
You can go to our website, and you can either sign up to our email, or you can follow us on any sort of social media, and all that kind of stuff. It's all there.
And if I'm an agent and I have a great roster and I want to join your company, what do I do?
You should hopefully know our names, and feel free to know that we are always on the phone and on our emails, just like you. So feel free to contact us at any time.
Awesome. I don't think we have to go around the whole horn unless you guys. It's hard with 7 people. But anything else anybody want to mention before we cut off?
No, we just really appreciate all the support from you and the opportunity to come on here and chat a little bit about what we're up to. So we're just we're very excited and happy and despite the circumstances, very optimistic for the future for all of us. So thanks, Andy.
Yeah, and thank you guys. I mean, it's been fun watching the response to this as it kind of echoed across the industry and people started talking about it. It's been really gratifying to see a new agency and something positive happen in this industry at this just difficult time. So congratulations on that. And good luck in the future. And thank you for coming here, everybody. It's awesome to talk to you all.
Thanks.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Pollstar.
Good luck, everybody.